What is up, guy? What's up, guy? How you guys doing? This is Josue. What Josue has to say. Welcome back. If you're new here, I am Josue, and this is what I have to say. Today's episode, it's crazy because this time last year, I had one of these guests on, and I decided to make a part 2 kind of to it, and it landed almost exactly 1 year, which is crazy, from the first episode. So this episode is going to be about kind of like a part 2 to my original Miami Tech episode, which we talked about, the tech hub that was emerging at the time in Miami and now is like full blown. And this one's really going to be a part 2 to that. And we're going to discuss a little bit about NFTs, Web3, DAOs, whatever that is, and maybe Miami Coin. We'll see. There's a few topics here at hand. Right now, I have my friend with me, Parker McCurley, which is CEO and founder of Decent Labs. Parker.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
And I have Deniz Karakurt. Did I say your name right?
I don't even know how to say my own last name.
So. Community and Discord builder for Security Token Group.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. All right. You feeling good?
Yeah.
Yeah? You good? You guys good?
Solid.
Wife and kids, all good?
Non-existent.
Toby?
Toby's doing great.
Toby's doing great. That's what I like to hear. All right. So essentially what we're here to discuss is I want to talk about how Miami has grown well, actually, let's talk about you first, Parker. I know that last time you were here, Decent Labs has gone through monumental changes. Right, Decent Labs is no longer Decent Labs. Decent Labs is now DecentDAO. Is that right?
Yeah, sort of. I would say it's less that Decent Labs has become DecentDAO and more that Decent Labs is ceasing to operate as it has. And DecentDAO, this new organization, is being formed by a bunch of people that worked at Decent Labs for the last few years. So, yeah, last time we spoke, I think I was gearing up for fundraising in order to do that. And about 2 months ago, maybe more like a month ago, we finished that fundraising, and we actually were able to raise some capital from investors that are based here in Miami, which is awesome because there definitely weren't like the caliber of tech venture capital investors or cryptocurrency specific venture capital investors that I could really meet in person in Miami when I started that process. So that was really cool. And the big change that we made outside of forming a DAO and decentralizing as an organization is going from working on professional, like paid software projects and building stuff for other crypto startups to funding and building our own crypto projects, which is a big difference.
So to lay it down in layman's terms for people that are technologically handicapped, I guess, what's the best way you can describe what a DAO is in this new, because a DAO is relatively kind of like a new concept, right? Like maybe this time last year they weren't as relevant or as prevalent. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, DAOs are really interesting, and I really view them as the next evolution for structuring organizations.
Also,
so just like how today we have LLCs and nonprofits and C Corps and all these different structures for forming.
So it's a business model, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a business structure. Right? And in crypto, there's a lot of argument currently about what a DAO should be from a standpoint, usually of decentralization or governance philosophy and what are we doing that's better than what's currently available in corporations, and are we solving those problems? But I think way more broadly, the most important factor here is that DAOs are programmable. So just how cryptocurrencies are programmable and thus are way more powerful than regular money. DAO is a programmable infrastructure for an organization, which to me means that all the infinite possibilities that are available with money now due to crypto can now be available for any type of human system working towards a shared goal, which is really what a business is.
Nice. Okay. I want to circle back to DAOs later on in the conversation, but for the sake of it, I want Deniz to talk a little bit about himself. Deniz, so tell the listeners what it is you do, how you got into it. You work for Security Token Group, right?
Yep. So Security Token Group is the parent company, right? And then under that we have Security Token Market and Security Token Advisors,
okay,
right? Security Token Market is a media and data company. Security Token Advisors is a consulting company. How I got to work for them. So I was working Uber. I was super miserable.
Typical Miami kind of like
Yeah.
early 20s.
Yeah, so it came to a point where I just like couldn't even turn on the app anymore. I was like so miserable. So I decided, okay, like just for my sanity, let me take 2 weeks and just like do what I love, which is like nonstop degenning out on crypto. So I just did that for 2 weeks straight. My goal was to find something that can make me some sort of like sustainable passive income, whatever. But the thing about that in crypto is that most things that can get you a sustainable income that's like somewhat decent, you either need to put a lot of capital into,
Right.
or it's just not gonna last. It's just like not sustainable. So I didn't end up finding anything. New Year's Eve came. Parker was like, yo, let's hang out. I was like, cool, let's hang out. And he was telling me, yo, I just launched a Discord for DecentDAO. Join it. And I was like, yeah, support the homie. Like, let me join. I joined. I saw it was super bare bones. I was like, yo, Parker,
We need to level this shit up. This,
gonna do
this thing
anything?
needs a
It
glow
was
up.
pretty cringe. It was pretty cringe.
I remember I joined it initially, and then it was like so robust after like he like spruced it up.
For sure.
Why did you decide to start a Discord? Like, what's
Yeah, I mean, dude, a big thing for us, like, as we're making this journey to a DAO, right, and we're taking the things we used to do as a centralized organization that was, mostly owned by me, and turning it into something that's bigger and more expansive and more ambitious. And I think a good first step to that was to start doing things out in the open. And so we moved our communications channels where we talk
transparent?
about exactly. And so now not only is our code open source and free and accessible by everybody, but literally the conversations that we have. I mean, you can go in our Discord, and if we're talking about one of our projects, you can join and listen or contribute and give feedback.
So that's a key feature of a DAO, having everything being transparent, open source. Just
I think for our DAO, it's very important, and I think for most DAOs, it is very important.
okay, but that's not how they all have to operate. It's just kind of like a
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine if it was beneficial to the mission of a DAO to somehow have some sort of private information or like private communications, and that's totally fine. But I think for us, it's just to show how much we believe in it, and that by being open and by having nothing to hide, we're going to end up with so many people helping us and understanding and buying into what we do that we don't have anything to lose in terms of other people like learning our secret sauce or whatever.
That was going to be my next question. Okay, you just answered it for me. So then after you went and helped out Parker with his Discord, what is that?
So I saw his Discord was very bare bones. I was like, yo, you gonna do anything about this? And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yo, there's
Come to the body shop, man.
yeah, there's a lot to be done here. And he was like, well, I don't know anything about Discord. Like, I've never used it. Do you? And I was like, yeah, I mean, so Discord started out as a platform for gamers, right? It solved a problem that gamers didn't know existed, right? People would always communicate, but like it took it to a whole nother level. And so I was like, yeah, I'm familiar with it. I've used it for like 4 or 5 years now. I had attempted to collab with 2 people that I thought were like really good stock traders. And I was like, yo, let's get together. Let's make a signals group where there's a paywall. People come in and they get good stock plays or whatever. Those 2 didn't end up working out, but I learned a lot in the process of like creating the Discords for those 2 guys. And so I was, Parker was like, yo, well, if you can, make my Discord look professional and get 1,000 people in there, I'll pay you. And I was like, run it.
Go.
Like, I was like, say no more. Like, that's exactly like the type of thing I was looking for. And right then in that moment, I realized like, oh, like I have a skill set that like falls in the industry. Like I can work in the industry. I had always loved crypto, never imagined I'd be able to work in the industry. I just never thought I had a skill set. And I also at the time I was really going crazy on NFTs. I was very deep in them. I'm still fairly deep. I'm a bit detached now just because like I'm working a lot. But I learned a lot about communities, how they operate, how they get built out, how they maintain engagement in them. And so I was up for the challenge. I worked for Parker roughly 3 weeks. Was it?
It wasn't that.
2-3 weeks.
It's a good project.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, two weeks or so, and then I got the opportunity to sit down with Herwig Konings, the one of the founders of Security Token Group, and sat down with him. He asked me my story. We talked. He liked what he heard, and then I started working for them. So,
tell me, what is, I guess for the sake of a DAO, I can see what value Discord brings to the table, but maybe for Security Token, what kind of value does the Discord bring to them as operating as a different type of company? Or
yeah, so I don't feel like it necessarily matters as to what type of crypto company you are or what type of blockchain company you are. It's more so like, how in tune do you want to be with your community, right? That's the, service that Discord provides. It allows you to get super deep with your community. It allows you to provide constant updates and communication with them. So I would say, yeah, they already had a Discord before I came in. I looked at it. It was good for not having someone dedicated to it.
It did the job.
Yeah. And so I came in, spruced it all up. It's still a work in progress, but I don't know a better tool to engage with your community than Discord.
And I could talk a little bit about the benefits that we're already experiencing.
Yeah.
Because it takes a long time, right? When we first did everything on Discord, it wasn't like the next day, all of a sudden we had a community or that people understood
you have to build it.
What was going on. And the goal for us, it was very intentional that we wanted to build a community for crypto builders. So people that are like us and who are bringing to the table some sort of experience or skill set that we need in our studio to launch new crypto projects.
Sorry to interrupt you real quick. For the, I guess, listeners that have never even heard of Discord, it's like a forum, basically, right? In a way, it's
honestly, it's like AIM.
It's like AIM, right?
Yeah.
It's like a forum-ish AIM type of messenger thing. Okay.
So you can have different channels.
Right.
You know what? It's like Slack for Zoomers, to be completely honest.
Right.
So basically the goal for us was to build a builder community. And I thought, well, the ultimate metric to measure our success of that would be contributors that are joining the DAO from the Discord. And this week, I was so excited. And I mean, this is more exciting to me. Well, put a long story short, this week we have 2 new members that have joined our community that heard about Decent Online, joined our Discord, read about what we were doing, read about the projects we were doing, read about the help we needed, and then reached out to me and said, hey, here's exactly where I see myself contributing. Can I be a part of this, right? And what's so cool about that's like more exciting to me than closing like a multi-million-dollar deal is because that proof of concept shows that we now have a community that's actually working, where people from all over the world can learn about what we're doing and then become a part of it.
That's dope, dude.
It's really cool.
Yeah,
it's taken us months to make that milestone, but now we're getting more people every week that are reaching out.
So talk to me a little bit more about that process. How does that work? How do I go from I'm one of your community members in Discord and then I just join your DAO? Like, is that like a hiring process that you do, or is it they vouch in some sort of way? How does that?
Totally. Well, so I mean, in an ideal universe, we'll get to a point where there is no hiring process, and I think fundamentally for a DAO to be autonomous and decentralized, it needs to be a system where, like, if I don't know you or don't like you or have never met you or even heard of you, and you want to contribute to that system, you should be able to and get value out of it if you provide a value to it. So that's our ultimate goal, is for that process to be totally automated. But there's a lot of issues that come with like validating if people's work is high quality or if they're the right person for this role or whatever. And so right now the way that we're doing it is like, again, it's basically like showing the types of project management stuff that you typically only share with the project team, and like just showing it to the public and saying, hey, this is our roadmap and our plan for this product for the next 6 months. Do you see a place in this that you can be a part of? We've also had people reach out to help us with things that I didn't even think of.
Like?
For example, like the fact that as a DAO, we're now, we're experimenting with a new type of organization that is global and borderless and has no employees. And that is a super complicated thing from a legal and compliance perspective in the United States. So someone reached out to us to offer to help and make sure that we're designing a contributor program that can't be misconstrued as like employment, for example. And that's a huge benefit of being a DAO. And so for us to be able to, have people reach out to us that are experts at what they do and help. Another example is on the contributor onboarding itself. I got hit up by somebody who sets up talent pipelines for DAOs. And, he's now working on a project to make it easy for a software developer or designer or product manager to come into the Discord and learn more about the projects and just get involved really easily. So we're building a whole hiring funnel for that, just like what we used to spend energy on recruiting and interviews and all this like kind of classic hiring
Now
stuff.
you spend that money on the other side.
Yeah. And really more like energy, right? The coolest thing about this is a lot of this is free, right? This is just us doing cool stuff and people are into it.
Talk to me a little bit more about the, I guess, capitalizing side of DAO. What does that structure look like?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, our DAO is backed by investors. I mean, Decent itself, we put our entire balance sheet into the DAO.
A venture company?
Sorry?
VC?
Yeah, no, like Decent Labs.
Okay.
Like we invested, all of our money into DecentDAO.
Okay.
That was part of our kind of corporate harikiri. And with the capitalization of the DAO, otherwise, we raised money from venture capital investors. It was really important to us that we raise capital only from people that I would consider crypto native. So these were funds that have a great reputation in the cryptocurrency space, and they're certainly teaching me about decentralization, not the other way around. And yeah, that's enough backing for us to work on, probably up to a dozen new project launches. So it gives us a lot of opportunities to launch cool stuff, which we then hope will, bring in revenue for the DAO, and it will become self-sustaining and not require investor capital to exist.
I feel like the crypto world has brought in so many new ideas and ways of doing things and structures that I think it's like, not only it's changing the world, right? Not just through decentralized cryptocurrency, but just the structures of things like DAOs and blockchains, and these things didn't exist before crypto. You know what I mean? So now it's like a whole different fucking world, and the opportunities.
Yeah, people get very creative with new technology, so
it's interesting to see like the world will probably be such a different place in 10 years. You know what I mean? Thanks to all this.
I think it's really cool, and back to the DAOs and the human coordination and the impact that can have. I discovered Bitcoin when I was 15, and I've made a career out of it, but I did, whatever I could with the little resources at the time to work in Bitcoin, to sort of like pursue that and follow it. Now, if you look at that opportunity and the impact it's had on my life, I'm now imagining a universe where, that same 15-year-old kid can discover a DAO and contribute to it online and get paid. And they could make more money than a full-time employee as a teenager.
So that's funny because that was the next question I was going to ask you guys is how do you see the impact of DAO changing the overall industry or just the playing field in general?
Yeah, I think it's the openness. It's the openness and the flexibility, and it doesn't matter like who you are or what your name is or what you look like. Everyone's like an anime cat, right? Like a fake name. So it's like a super like free and kind of open environment in that way.
Good shit, dude.
And also like the actual structure of a DAO in itself, like the idea that it's not a centralized group that's making all the decisions. It's someone puts up a vote, and then the community votes on that vote.
It's like a board.
Or someone puts up like a suggestion, and then the community votes on that.
Like a board of stakeholders type of thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Except in this case, the board is the employees, the owners,
Right.
the investors.
The people.
Exactly. Which is really, really exciting.
That is really cool.
It's very inefficient, unfortunately.
In what way?
Well, there's this
Because
concept
a lot of people involved?
Yeah, and there's a concept of like the tragedy of the commons, and in most systems that involve large quantities of people, they just get like they don't operate well. And so I think the trick with the
Wait,
DAO
I don't understand what you mean.
it's sort of like how, okay,
Just too many cooks in the kitchen type of thing?
think about it like this. If someone like Warren Buffett is heralded as a genius investor, and this one person's ideas is what drives making amazing amounts of financial returns, then saying that a DAO is always going to work would be like saying we're going to outsource that investment decision to 100,000 people in America and they'll make a better choice than Warren Buffett. And that's just not true. So the question is, how do we maintain an adequate level of openness and decentralization without ending up in a place where we have 100,000 people directly voting on decisions that they shouldn't be a part of?
Wow, that is tricky.
Yeah.
Well, those are growing pains, right? As DAOs continue to become more prevalent and grow, then I guess somebody will figure that out, or I don't know, because obviously that seems like it's a big deal.
Definitely. I mean, the smartest people I know in the DAO space, most of them, I would say, aren't even like engineers in the traditional sense, but they're people who have a strong understanding of political science and the history of democracy and governance. And I mean, we're really quickly, like you actually see,
Yeah, that makes sense.
like real world events that have occurred are now happening in DAOs, and it's like we learned that didn't work in the French Revolution. like right. And then we're just like repeating on chain. It's really fascinating.
Let's learn from history, guys. Let's learn from history.
Well, hopefully we can do better. So I think now we're at the point where maybe DAOs can get current with how the world is currently doing and operating, and maybe improve. That would be ideal, I think.
That's really impressive. I want to. So wait, before I move on. So DAO is an acronym, right? It stands for something, or
Decentralized Autonomous Organization.
Decentralized Autonomous Organization.
Yeah, and that.
In case anybody wants to look it up.
I'm not sure if it was penned at this time, but the DAO, which is very famous in Ethereum history, was like one of the first of its kind, an on-chain entity. It was meant to serve as, I believe, an investment fund. And like the DAO hack is actually what led to a massive loss of funds and Ethereum breaking off into Ethereum, that we know it today, and Ethereum Classic, right?
There's two versions.
Yeah, and that was a very controversial thing because basically it involved a lot of people losing money, and Ethereum was small and I think insular enough at the time for them to be able to convince the whole community to hard fork and to basically reduce that loss of funds, which to a lot of people in the crypto community is a dangerous thing, right? Like Bitcoin has never, undone blockchain history as far as I know.
Gotcha. I wanted to go and touch on a subject that most people, I think, are familiar with, at least as a word, but maybe not really know what the hell it is, and that's your topic, NFTs.
Sweet.
So NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens, right?
Yep.
So my understanding of it is that it's a form of a digital asset, right, that you buy with crypto, like an online painting, and you get some sort of that's like the layman's terms, like the way everybody knows what an NFT is, right? And you get some sort of certification or something that's your property. It's digital. It's not in the physical, and you bought it with crypto.
Yeah. So NFTs can represent real physical assets in our day-to-day life or whatever, or it could be just
Digital.
a JPEG that someone created on Photoshop or whatever. But it's the idea of having a digital asset that is on the blockchain that is verifiable, right? So I can prove that I own that NFT, right? If you want to come and screenshot, that's the biggest thing people talk about, right? Is like, bro, I'm going to screenshot your NFT. Like,
yeah, then it's mine.
Yeah, but you can do that. You can screenshot my NFT, but at the end of the day, you can't go sell that screenshot. I can sell my NFT because it's verifiable through the blockchain that I own it, right? And that it's the real deal. The blockchain allows you to trace it back to its origin. So I could trace this NFT's history and be like, oh, okay, it was minted by this guy who's the original artist. This is legit, And then, like you said, you can buy and sell them on the blockchain as well. So, yeah. Pretty much.
Talk to me a little bit about what minting is. Is it like mining, like the way you would mine a cryptocurrency? What is minting exactly?
So minting is the idea of bringing an NFT to life, right? Minting is a broad term. It applies to the regular side of crypto. Like you can mint coins, you can mint NFTs as well. So minting an NFT is basically you're taking that file and putting it on the blockchain, right? And creating that non-fungible token, right? So you're basically you're like Frankensteining your JPEG and bringing it to life.
It's the minting is, I guess, it's the person doing that developmental work, right, behind the scenes to.
Yeah, it's not. There's very little developmental work behind. There could be a lot behind it, but there's many platforms. Like even OpenSea itself, which is, the biggest marketplace currently for NFTs, is I could take a picture of you right now, put it onto my computer, go on OpenSea, and then mint that as an NFT.
I mean, if you're down, I'm down. If we're going to make some money, then let's make some money.
Oh, that's another thing is I get a lot of people that come and talk to me like, yo, I'm thinking about this NFT project, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, tell me what the concept is. And then I'm like, sad. Cause
most are shit concepts.
Yeah, because like people think like, okay, I'm gonna like put this up on the marketplace and I'm gonna sell it for 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, get rich
no.
scheme.
How do you feel? Scheme. How do you feel about crypto dick butts?
What is that?
Phenomenal project.
What the fuck
Tremendous.
Is it? It's the only. So DecentDAO Treasury has one NFT and it is a crypto dick butt.
What's a dick butt?
It's a dick butt. It's a dick butt. It's a dick butt.
You should put it up.
It's
put
a
it
butt.
up on the
It's
screen.
a butt
right
with a
here.
penis on it.
Yeah, you should. I mean, you can just Google it. Crypto dick butt is the project. I mean,
Some of the best artwork I've ever seen.
and honestly, some of the strongest vision of any team, of any project
This is. Hold on, I need to
in
look
all of
this up.
crypto.
Crypto dick butt. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna edit it into the video so you guys can see what the hell this looks like. Oh,
Yeah.
it's exactly that.
Can you edit that into the video? I don't know if
Yeah.
it's family friendly or
No,
not.
I mean,
no,
I
gotta
don't
show
think
dick
families
butts.
sit in their living room to
Yeah.
watch me, guys. To be fucking honest.
And honestly, so the dick butts, they're on a censorship-resistant blockchain, so anyone can see them. It's not up to us.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about for monetization on his video.
But you know, on the NFTs, one thing I do think is really exciting. I'm not like the expert here, so I want to keep listening to Deniz. But one thing that I think is really exciting is if you look at like cryptocurrency, and I heard about it because people who I bought weed from use it, and that was like the first group of Americans that I know of that were really interested in it. Like they were using it to do commerce online outside of the regulated financial system. And now we look at what that looks like today as DeFi, which is like an army of nerds who are attempting to seriously change how money works in the entire planet. Now, if we look at NFTs, which are just, you know, cryptocurrencies are money, NFTs are this abstract concept of ownership on chain. And what first happens is memes and art and like this very like cultural, you know, visual, I don't want to say superficial, but as wonderful as the art is, it is still the first step for NFTs. And so, you know, it's really interesting for me to think about what is that 10-year gap going to look like? Like, what are NFTs going to be used for in 10 years that we haven't stumbled upon yet? For example, at DecentDAO, our plan for giving roles to contributors, almost like getting a job, is to actually give them an NFT that has their responsibilities written into it and gets them the ability to claim funds from the treasury like once a month, like a paycheck.
Dude, you've been like we're on the same wavelength. Like when I'm going to ask a question, you like answer it before I can even like, that was going to be my next question. Like what is the future of NFT? Like,
That is
like
sick,
what,
by the way. I did not know you were working on that. That's
Well, it's cool because if we get the art, then you have a visual element to your job. So I think there's a sense of pride. Like I finally understand, I think NFTs place in our community because I've seen how people react to NFTs in a lot more human way than they do just holding a crypto asset. NFTs it feels like they own it. It feels like it's a part of their identity.
like it's real. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really awesome thing for cryptocurrency. You know.
Yeah, definitely. There is a much more like personable aspect to NFTs, right? Like, no matter what, people are like, oh, I have people that tell me, oh, I've been looking through some NFTs and I can't find any that I like. I'm like, well, you're not looking hard enough because there's thousands of projects out there. All
Yeah, I feel like everybody's working on some sort of NFT project.
and they all have different visions and goals. They all have different communities behind them, different aspects. And I feel like there's an NFT project for everyone. No matter what your personality is, no matter what your desires are in the space, your goals, whatever it is, like there is an NFT project or an NFT community out there for you, you know. And that's the beautiful thing about it is people just are so much more dedicated, like on a whole nother level. Like I've seen tons of people work for projects for free, you know, just because they're like, yeah, I just
They
love
want
it.
to be involved.
I just love it. Yeah, they just love not only the art, but they love, like I said, the vision, the trajectory that it's trying to take. And
Up only.
yeah, facts.
I mean, just the entire thing is just really if you look at it, I guess from an eagle eye, everybody wants to be part of something where they don't have to really be, I guess, answering to somebody or in a 9 to 5 or like, you know what I mean? You could work from anywhere and be involved in these little projects and make some money and just do your own thing. You don't got to be, like you said, like on an Uber app or like listening to your bitch ass boss tell you like what to do. Like, it's a brand new dawn when it comes to making money, you know?
Oh, it makes me so happy knowing that I don't have employees anymore. That word, it's like tastes bad. And whenever I've ever had to introduce someone to another person as an employee, and I'm like implying this hierarchical relationship, it's always made me so uncomfortable because I really view our team members as like peers and colleagues.
Cool, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I just think if you could create an organization where all members had the luxuries of the CEO and being able to make their own schedule and work from wherever they want and have the lifestyle that they want, if you could run a business that way, I would imagine it would be easy to convince like the smartest, most talented people to work there. Because what a great life.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the goal with the DAO, and something I keep going back to. Jess from Seed Club, which is a really awesome like DAO investment group. He says DAOs need more leaders, not less. And I think that's like that's a mantra at Decent at this moment, is like we want everybody involved to be autonomous, to be a leader, to hold themselves accountable, and not to have to be told what to do, because you can't function in a DAO if you're someone who has to be told what to do.
So how does the concept of, maybe I'm not grasping really the whole efficacy or the structure of a DAO. If you have to fire somebody, there's no firing. It's not the same type of structure. So how would that work? Like just getting somebody off of the team, how would that scenario work out?
Totally. I mean, and this is pretty neat. I mean, they probably, like, let's say that someone was assigned an NFT for a role, and this is a role where you're on like retainer. So you're not, a lot of the stuff in the DAO, there is no firing because it's a project. So let's say we're going to pay you 5,000 tokens to do project A. Project A is done. You get 5,000 tokens. If you want to come work on another project, we'll pay you for that one. Now, if you're on like a retainer or a core contributor, as we call them at Decent, like people that make a fundamental part of the organization and they need consistent income to be competitive with what they could have, working somewhere else. And for those people, I think the process will eventually have to look like the DAO voting to revoke their NFT, which I think is you'd have to do something pretty bad to get consensus to kick you out.
So it falls back under the same type of what we spoke about. It's everybody votes type of thing. Like, hey, this guy not working out. We need to get rid of him. Show of hands or whatever. Yes, then he's out type of thing.
Yeah, I'm imagining. So, DAOs, the community has run with this term called work streams or guilds to define like departments in a traditional organization. And I think in the DAO, I imagine that the people who run those departments, leaders, will be like elected officials. They might even have to go up for re-election and not have just the ability to just sit.
Companies are turning to many countries. Like, it's crazy.
Well, dude, I mean, there's a lot of companies that are much more powerful than many countries,
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, look at we're in 2022. Look at where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just think that's really interesting. So I think probably a structure where individual contributors, for the purposes of moving quickly, can be onboarded or fired at will by leadership, and that leaders are in this like elected kind of seat that's intentionally under pressure. Like they should need to work to earn that seat. I think that's really important. And then we wouldn't have some of the issues that we have today, which is people get in power and influence, and they find ways to kind of just get comfortable and sit there, and they just start leeching off everybody. And I hate it.
Yeah. Reminds me of a little country, the one we live in.
I mean, yeah, real quick, just to add on to that, like, in a traditional company, someone can get to the point where they're like overseeing and managing tons of people, and they could kind of just,
lay back,
sit back and be like, yeah, you got that, and just delegate all day long and not really do much. But, the idea behind a DAO is that even the person who just got in can go on the blockchain and look at all the work that's being done, right? So they could be like, oh, this guy's not doing any of his actual work. Why are we paying him? And they could put up a vote. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I think by having everything out in the open, like accountability becomes so paramount, and people aren't. Again, the idea that someone could like hide and work 10 hours a week, and then the person next to them, as a result, has to work 70 hours a week, and they each get paid the same, is ridiculous. So, I think our goal is to avoid a situation where overachievers are under-rewarded and where underachievers are found out.
Over-rewarded, yeah.
Yeah, because it's pretty crazy. I mean, we have. So here's an example. Let's say that you're a developer and you have the capacity to work 80 hours a week. At a regular company, they're basically going to like abuse that person and pay them a salary and expect eventually they'll have a standard set of how much they should work.
Yeah.
In a DAO,
which is his fault for setting that standard.
But. Yes, but without the HR policy, the DAO can say, okay, why not have one contributor have two roles?
Yeah.
You get paid 2 full-time jobs. And I think that's like that's something that can't exist in a company today for all kinds of reasons, mostly because it would make people mad. And what I like about this is it doesn't matter. It's like the proof's in the pudding. If you put in the work and you're providing the value, you get paid, and that's fair.
That's awesome, dude. I'm loving this whole DAO business. Like now I know we've spoke about it like earlier and I kind of got the concept, but now it's like sinking in like, oh, that was
DAOs are when I first heard of Ethereum, and that was really when I like fell down the crypto rabbit hole big time. When I first heard about Ethereum, DAOs were the vision that I had for the impact that ETH would have on the world, is that we'd live in a world where all the systems were run in a transparent way and people had like a fair input and output in life versus the way that it is today, which is a bunch of dinosaurs in control.
Remember, side tracking here. Remember years ago when I had that idea for the app for people that wanted to get hired by right? And it was like kind of different, like trying to get people to, like in workplaces where they would be happy and like, this kind of reminds me of like a concept structure type of it.
Oh yeah, and dude, I mean, looking at it from that big picture perspective, like the timing for that product is perfect right now because all over the United States, companies are struggling to hire people and keep them hired because it's just like, a lot of jobs suck. And think about the standards now. You can work from home on a computer or work from the top of a mountain next to a waterfall. And like when people hear about that, and then the alternative is to work in a cubicle, most people it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Deniz, do you do anything NFT related for security token at this time or no?
So,
if you do, the reason I'm asking is because I just wanted to see, like, I'd like to explain what a day-to-day job in the role of something NFT related would look like.
So I do, like, I wouldn't say I do anything directly tied to NFTs. I mean, we have started taking on clients that want to create NFT projects. We provide like the community building for them. I build out the Discord for them. And then we also could provide marketing if they wanted that as well. So we're currently working on a very interesting project. I can't give out too much information on it just because
give us a little bit.
There's a lot of parties involved.
Without getting fired, tell me what you can tell me.
I mean,
if you can't, you can't. But.
Yeah, I would say it's.
No, wrong one. Wah, wah, wah. I can't find this.
No one.
There you go.
Awesome.
No, yeah, I mean, basically the idea, without giving away too much, is to build a collective where people can learn from multiple different industries, from experts, in one place. So I'm super excited for this project. I think it has a lot of potential, and it's really allowing me to hone in my skills and build them further. So something I'm super excited about. But going back to your question, we are starting to take NFT clients, but we're not doing everything A to Z for them, right? So they most of the time are going to come with their concept. If they need some consulting, whether or not their concept has potential or validity, we do provide that. But at the end of the day, it's up to that client to come correct. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Come with something. That's basically. I'm not working on anything directly tied to NFTs. I'm just working on projects related to NFTs.
Okay, fair enough. The next kind of topic I wanted to hit on was Web3. Cool. It's a buzzword. Some people have heard about it. Some people haven't. What's Web3? What's happening to the internet at this moment in time that will make the internet a lot different in the future? What is Web3? What's going on?
Well, I've definitely.
I know you were on an article, right, or a show about it, Cheddar News, no, about Web3, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was when.
I just forgot that I was like interviewed by a national like.
No, that was hey, dude. After I come here, I'm not that impressed anywhere else. So, but yeah, so. That's a great question. I have personally fallen into this thing where like I now use the word Web3 pretty ubiquitously, the way that I use crypto as this like umbrella term to refer to everything that I do and that's in the industry. So like, a lot of the times I'll talk to people and say the word Bitcoin, and what I really mean is like this greater Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these dApps and DeFi. And similarly, like when I say Web3, I'm typically mean like all of the stuff, right? Like NFTs are part of Web3 and crypto is part of Web3. But I think specifically when people are talking about Web3 as in like the departure from Web2, they're mostly talking about the client.
Most people don't even know what Web2 is. So it's the current state of the internet that we have now.
Yes, and the current state is the client-server model. It's the centralized client-server model. So there's a server that has all the data and programming and information on it, and then you have many clients who are participant in this. And what that has created is businesses where naturally, they result in like power moats and control over the users. And it's not like their fault. It's like Facebook had to end up this way.
So give me a real life example scenario of, for example, Google or Facebook, like you said. What is that like using them? What does that structure look like with Web2?
Totally, yeah. So I mean, those are both advertising companies. At the end of the day, that's like what the business is advertising. And the way that those things work is these systems like Facebook and Google, they're consuming an amazing amount of information about us every day. And that data is then brokered to third parties who aggregate it and then sell it in mass to advertisers. And so when you look at like a Facebook or a Google, I think the big criticism that's been made on them is as non-programmers have learned this, it freaks them the fuck out.
The power they have.
Every Google search you've ever made about like that weird thing that you didn't want to ask anybody about in real life, like it's out there. Yeah. And that's really scary. And so the idea is, I guess, is there a dynamic there where we can shift from them owning that data and information to us or the community or the users owning that data and information? So one example might be if I consent to use my data to power advertisements, give me a cut of the advertising fee. And that's what I think basic attention token in the Brave browser, that was an idea that they came up with like many years ago now. I think 2016 or 2017.
I remember if you kept up with the politics back, I think when the last elections, 2020, yeah. Andrew Yang was running. He was talking about getting the tech companies to give people back money because at the end of the day, the consumer is the product, right? So it's like, how are you not getting paid for being a product to these companies?
Well, I'm really happy to share. I met Andrew Yang earlier this year at Denver. And
how was he?
It was awesome.
Smart guy, right?
Yep. And he told me that he is forming a DAO. So it sounds like he's leaving mainstream politics and using the DAO framework to coordinate people around him in like a more organic, grassroots way.
Yeah, his campaign was always very human oriented, like just kind of like people and type of thing. So that makes complete sense. So then give me, I guess, another real world example. So that's the Web 2 version. What would that look like again in Web 3?
Yeah, I think it would be so back to the advertising. It would be a model where I would have to consent and receive a portion of fees in exchange for my information being sold. And I mean, if we want to look at like money, right, like as probably the best example, with what Bitcoin has done and proven, versus a bank with a central fractional reserve, which is like a flawed, it's a necessary but flawed system, and a lack of transparency and a lack of understanding on like, what is your financial history? Like that list, when you scroll through your mobile app of all your past transactions, all your bank balances is a summary of all of those, right? And so when we look at Bitcoin, we're taking that, and instead of like the server being like Chase Bank's databases, that database is shared and distributed amongst all the users of Bitcoin. And so, that's kind of like essential to its design. So I think like the Web 2, Web 3 paradigm is this idea that we're taking what Bitcoin has proven can be done, which is taking that centralized system and distributing it and making it more secure and more owned by the users.
Doing it across the...
Exactly.
That's what I was going to say next, again, was that all these models, DAOs, crypto, Web3, it's all decentralized. It's taking away the power from like the main man and then putting it back to the people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Which I think is amazing and definitely something that we need in this day and age with all this shit going on.
And a simple umbrella that I've used for years to like evaluate projects is how similar to Bitcoin is this. Like Ethereum, I was so impassioned by because it seemed so much like Bitcoin, but with smart contracts. But they were focused on the censorship resistance and the decentralization, and the permissionless nature of the blockchain. And even though there's all these other alternatives that have been touted over the years, like clearly none of them have even like come close to a candle in the sun when you look at Bitcoin or Ethereum. And I think it's fundamental to their design as to why they're successful.
How long do you guys think until Web3 is a reality to like the average Joe consumer? Because right now, I mean, you don't really see that, but I know it's in the work in progress. But
To me, it already is, but I'd love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, you know, we've noticed a lot of mass adoption over the last year.
in
year
what
or two.
ways?
Just, you know, like I've had grandmas and grandpas come up to me and be like, "What's this crypto stuff?" Like blah blah blah, and I'm like, "No way." It's just, you know, when you start hearing like the everyday average person that works, you know, a normal 9 to 5 in a cubicle, like we were talking earlier, talking about crypto and talking about like, yo, I saw this one project, like it looks interesting. Like that's when you're like, whoa, hold up, like something's shifting here, you know? And over the last like year or two, I feel like the mass adoption has probably like doubled or maybe even tripled. Damn near any person you ask knows at least what crypto is, like, or the idea of it, you know. As for where it's going in the future, I think it's only going to grow more. NFTs will change over time. DAOs will change over time, and they will start to fit and like everyday needs, right? So, like an example in the space that I'm familiar with NFTs, like people, you know, talk about all these like Bored Apes and crypto punks and stuff and dick butts, but you know, that's,
I can't believe that's still a thing.
yeah, that's just the you know, the current state of NFTs, right? But the idea of NFTs can be so much more, right? It can be more than just like, you know, an art project with a little bit of utility behind it and a community, right? It could be used in its core, like technology, right? Like hospitals can use NFTs to verify patients. It could be used in stores to, you know, as your profile. It could be used in so many like day-to-day activities. It could be used in import-export, making things so much more simpler. So I think there is still a lot of room for growth and evolution in Web3 overall.
Those are interesting use cases that I don't think the regular person even thinks of. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
when the person not even knows what an NFT is, just like, oh yeah, it's like a digital online painting, right? And it's like scenarios like that. It's like, no, it's way more than that.
Because most people see like the Bored Apes and the crypto punks, they don't really look into like the technology behind what is an NFT.
What it actually is.
Yeah, right.
Well, we know that Web3, DAOs, all these things are all really kind of putting the power back into the individuals, kind of hand the people, right? How do you think companies are going to adapt to this? React, the Googles of the world, or just, you know, any that operate off of the other type of like hierarchies and stuff?
Well, I suspect similarly to how banks and governments had like a multi-year campaign against crypto existing.
You're going to start shitting on it?
Yeah, I think very
This is
similar.
why you should not do this. You don't want power. You don't want.
Yeah, and I think, you know, super lame because I follow both of these guys on Twitter and kind of like look up to them. But like Brian Chesky, from the co-founder of Airbnb, and Aaron Levy from Dropbox, they like love having these or Box. They love having these like Twitter conversations about how stupid Web3 is, and like they're like, oh yes, let's give it all to the users. They're great, and they're like just like kind of like mocking crypto. And I think it's like pretty interesting to see people that are like billionaires that are apparently so threatened by this stuff that they have to like joke about it to make themselves feel better. And I think that that's like a really good sign. It's sort of like the Jamie Dimon Bitcoin relationship, and you know, JP Morgan is doing everything that they can to invest in crypto at this point. And I guess back to the mainstream adoption stuff, because that's important. Like, to me, there's going to be some things that pop up. Like, for example, if tomorrow Jack had Square turn on accepting Bitcoin Lightning Network payments, and now all of a sudden you can like check out using Bitcoin at like every retailer that uses Square, which there's a lot, right? Or, you know, Apple allowing you to transfer USDC stablecoin through Apple Pay. And so I think that there's these ways where consumers, I guess the thing about mainstream adoption is like, when is my mom going to interact with Bitcoin as part of her like daily life, right? And the answer to that is like when Apple or one of these other like major consumer product companies actually integrates Bitcoin into a product that everybody uses. And I guess just last thing to say about that, that's super exciting about the mainstream is like, I am noticing now that my friends with children that were my age when I discovered Bitcoin, it is just like how playing video games is cool. Like crypto is now cool. Like NFTs are cool. Being a part of Discords is cool.
Yeah.
And so like a new generation now is building stuff, and the industry is like it's outgrown anything I could ever possibly know all about or even a little bit of at this point. But it's cool because like new people are showing up, and like some of the stuff I think is super whack. But like if you want to build an NFT exchange on like a shit chain with 7 validator nodes, like be my guest. It's super cool. Like a lot of kids are just kind of showing up and they have no opinions, and they just want to build stuff. So
It's really interesting how I think the majority, I mean, there's millennials too, but like a lot of Gen Zers are part of that community, of that world. And it amazes me how you both are Gen Z, no? Or
I think I'm like the first year or the
okay.
last year.
You're definitely a Gen Z.
Wait, so you're technically millennial?
I think after
No, I'm technically a Zoomer, but
Okay.
I'm like day one Zoomer.
Okay.
I was the first
You just made
Zoomer
it.
ever born.
yeah, so then it makes so there you go. Yeah, it's amazing how technical and these kids are. You kids are. I mean, it's wild. You guys are building shit online, like what I mean, at such a young age. I don't know. It's I feel like my generation was like the America Online type of like dial-up connection that we learned how to use the internet, and then you guys like took it like I don't know.
I'm old enough to have gotten the CDs in the mail.
Yeah, remember
but
that?
only for a few years, and then they stopped.
They stopped.
It stopped coming
because they went out the window.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, dude, I was born the same year that JavaScript came out and the USB standard came out, and,
Wow.
and I believe Internet Explorer and a few. I mean, like the 90s. It's like when the internet really,
Yeah.
blossomed.
Flourished, yeah. Before we wrap up, the last topic I really want to talk about, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, is Miami Coin. I'm not sure if you guys are really that familiar with Miami Coin, but it's basically this type of digital token that the Miami mayor, Francis Suarez, has been promoting, but not without a ton of backlash and criticism. People call it Mierda Coin, Miami Shit Coin, Miami Fraud Coin. It's gotten a bunch of people making fun of it names. Have you guys heard of this, or is this kind of new to you guys?
Yeah, I have heard of it. Do you want to?
You can go first.
Okay.
Well, no, I was gonna say a little bit more. Just making sure that you guys had heard about it before.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he partnered with this company called City Coins, I think, right? And essentially, the coin isn't really tied to Miami in any way. It's this company that just kind of creates these privatized coins, and then they get like a quote unquote celebrity to pimp it out, so they can easily get Kim Kardashian to be like, oh, the K coin, and then she just pimps it out to her people. So essentially, that's kind of what they did with the mayor of Miami. I think they have one for New York as well. So it's Miami Coin, but it doesn't really have to do anything with Miami. And then it's been getting a lot of backlash because it's kind of it can be a liability to Miami citizens, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people, specifically in Miami, have the whole get quick rich scheme kind of mentality, and a lot of people think crypto is that, but it also comes at a detriment. It's like a stock, you know what I mean? And more so, to add on to it, the coin has actually crashed 95%. So I think the highest it was 6 cents or something like that. If you invested $1,000, you're left with what, $5 or some shit like that. So it's.
I got on a call recently. I forget with who, but it was like a crypto naysayer, and they were telling me they were basically just like having a very dumb, uninformed argument with me about why like Bitcoin doesn't work or whatever. And then they were like, "Well, and you live in Miami, dude. Your coin dropped 95%." And like it's like a thing. It's definitely a thing that people are talking about. I will say that.
Yeah, it's like nationwide.
Yeah, I mean, so what was that? Is it Ethereum Max, that coin that also got a lot of clout, that like they got Mayweather to promote and Kim K and stuff?
Oh, I'm not
and
sure.
It wasn't like associated with Ethereum at all. That's the funny part about some of these coins, is that, they might be as blatant as to have the name of whatever they're representing in.
Yeah, it's a brand, an empty brand.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what most people don't understand about crypto and Web3 is like, do your own research is the most important thing that you could like keep in mind, right? Like, I've had so many people come up to me like, yo, I just jumped in this project, like put like all the money I saved into it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
And they lose.
and I'm like, okay. And then I start asking them questions. Oh, so What are they building? What blockchain are they on? What are they doing? And then that person's like, I'm not sure, but they told me they got a future, or their marketing looks good or whatever. Like, and I'm like,
I mean, you're gambling. You're gambling your money away.
Might as well go to the Hard Rock.
Exactly.
And it's just, in terms of the Miami coin thing, I can't say too much on it because I haven't looked into it in depth, but I looked into it enough to know that I wasn't interested in investing in it. And I have a very high tolerance for risk. So,
yikes.
Whoa.
So I was kind of reading up on it and see if you can explain this better to me, that the coin, and if I misinterpret anything, please correct me, that the coin itself doesn't really hold any value because when you're mining it, it's really operating off of a coin it's like a hierarchy. So the coin above that is Stacks coin.
Yes.
And then Stacks coin is also like a Fugazi type of coin or some shit that is really depends off of Bitcoin, which is the true value holder, I guess. So how does that work, and how is that like kind of scammy? How does that?
Totally, yeah. So I can give. I'm not like a Miami coin expert, but with my knowledge of Stacks and Bitcoin and whatnot. So, obviously, like the Bitcoin blockchain network is super valuable and super secure because of how decentralized and censorship resistant it is. However, that also makes it very expensive and difficult to build things on. And Bitcoin is very, Bitcoin doesn't like to change, right? Because it's dangerous to change Bitcoin. It could have like horrible downstream effects. So Stacks is a proposed alternative to building smart contracts on Bitcoin. So Stacks is like a separate chain that runs alongside Bitcoin that you can build software more easily for than you can using Bitcoin. Okay. Now, the thing that bums me out about it is that while it is secured by Bitcoin, as in Stacks like stores all of the activity on Stacks on Bitcoin in perpetuity, that does not mean that it is as secure as Bitcoin. It's like objectively less secure than Bitcoin. And so I think like it's important to note that, when you're talking about a layer 2 solution, which Stacks is kind of like a layer 2 for Bitcoin, you're getting into an area of like, it's really easy to say, oh, like Stacks is safe because Bitcoin is safe and we're secured by Bitcoin. But if you dig really deep on exactly what that means, it usually, even if it's good, it doesn't mean what most people think it means. And so when you're looking at that, it's like Miami coin, it's like built on city coins, on Stacks, on Bitcoin.
So it's like the third layer.
Yeah, or really like the fourth, right? It's like a project from Citycoin. So it's like when you think about the amount of risk in each layer of that stack, and the amount of technical understanding you need to understand that risk in the stack, and then you look at like a mayor whose job is pretty much to like regurgitate information to people who like will blindly follow it. And so I think the issue there is like from an ethical standpoint, while it's good that we can build all this stuff and experiment, I think it's like, people could have lost, tons of people who like love and worship Francis Suarez might have bought into that thing and lost serious money due to that kind of follower mentality.
Well, they thought a chicharrón was gotten in. Look at where they ended up now.
Yeah.
Should have listened to me.
And I think that's important, man. Like Bitcoin is relatively simple in the sense that like you don't have to be a software engineer at all to know exactly how it works. And so, and crypto, do your own research, like crypto has taught now a generation that finances aren't an area to ignore, and that if you don't know about finances, like your life is going to kind of suck, right? So I think it's really important to like promote projects that encourage people to learn how they work instead of hide from people how they work.
Again,
usually a bad sign.
Again, like what I was going to say, the same exact thing was if he was promoting some sort of venture like that because he truly believed in it, well, then provide the resources to your city to really learn about it. What are the risks? What are the pros? What are the cons? And just educate, right? There's a lot of uneducated people that jump into this. So if you're a politician that you're supposed to be looking out for your people, this is probably a tool so that you would want to give your people to if you're introducing this new finance technology. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And the reality is it's like in a system like this, people are rewarded for independent work. So just like Deniz is talking about doing your own research, like in Cleveland, my co-founder and I wanted to teach more people about crypto, but the way that we did it was through like a meetup, and it was a multi-year event that we organized and that we hosted, and that we slowly built a community, and I'm like still friends with some of those people today. But the point is like that type of community education happened in a very grassroots way, and it only worked for the people who wanted it. So it's kind of, I definitely don't envy politicians. I wouldn't want their job at all.
One more thing I would just say, like, most people who, like, just got into crypto, I mean, not all of them, but, you know, there's a lot of people who are around my age that are, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21, that are, or even 25, 30, whatever it is, that don't have a understanding of, like, traditional finance and what is, like, an outlandish amount of interest, right? So when Miami Coin came out, I think they were offering like a 1,300% APY, and it's just like, if like, you know, the best investors can't, some of them, like most of them can't get 1,300%. Like, why do you think that is like sustainable and like possible? Like, you're gonna get that 1,300% the whole year, and it's not just gonna tank. Like, no. I've had countless people, like when the whole thing happened with what was that DAO that wasn't really it was a DAO, but it was more like they had like Ponzonomics behind it. Olympus, like those, I get what they were trying to do, but like you see 80,000% APY, like, and you don't question that, like there's something you need to reevaluate.
Well, again, get rich quick mentality, right?
Exactly.
You don't really you don't cross your T's and dot your I's.
Education is one of the most important things. Like, I'm a huge proponent in educating. Like, I will sit there and explain something to someone for 3 hours just because they seem interested, right? I have a good friend of mine. We met up at the Kava bar like 8 months ago or so. He sat down with me. He was like, yo, what's this like NFT stuff you're looking at? I sat there for like 3 hours, explained like everything A to Z for him. And instead of just taking it and being like, this is what I know, he took that and then ran with it. He went deeper. He did his own research. He started participating in different projects. And now he actually works for a project called Pop Art Cats as a community builder as well. So, and he did that in an 8-month time frame. Not saying that's regular. He went really deep and was super dedicated. But like, it goes to show, if you put the time into learning, like, that's where the real like get rich quick or whatever is. Like, it's not even a good mentality to have, but if you put in the time and you're dedicated, like, you can make something happen in crypto. You know, I feel like much easier than traditional finance, just because of all the walls that traditional finance has and all the relationships and stuff you need to have, and people can blackball you and all that stuff.
And we're a couple dumbasses who never went to school, so
Look
I'm
at
not
you guys
even
now.
allowed to work at a bank.
Look at you guys now. So if anybody that was listening wanted to get anybody that was listening, not me, wanted to learn a little bit more, what resources do you think that are available aside from like YouTube? Because you can YouTube anything.
I was gonna say
that's
number one though. Google
okay, well,
and YouTube.
All right, well that's number one. But like anything else, maybe you guys may be familiar with that. The regular person.
You know, I was definitely like joining communities and just reading, like lurking and like seeing what's going on. I mean, the DecentDAO Discord, of course, is an option for that. And I was thinking when Deniz was talking about his experience teaching his friend that it really sucks because so many people have asked me that question over the years. Like, where do I go to learn this stuff? And the reality is, like, my own personal knowledge base is a result of a decade now of like hanging out with people, talking about Bitcoin, going to events all over the world to talk to other people about Bitcoin, like building stuff on Bitcoin, like promoting Bitcoin, hearing arguments about Bitcoin. And so it's like a really nuanced like path to learn. So I think what I am now recommending, like looking back at like all my experiences in the industry and what has kind of shaped my perspective most, I would suggest to everybody who wants to learn about crypto is to go to in-person cryptocurrency events. Like, go to a conference and sit down and listen to the talks. Go like see what people are actually like who are in the industry and like what is important to them and what the overall vision, because there is like a collective vision of cryptocurrency that we all kind of like share. So I think that's like my number one advice would be, especially down here in Miami, like look up tech events and attend them. Going to like a Ethereum Foundation event or, Consensus is coming up in Austin in a few weeks. That's a great way to get exposure to the industry.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I was thankful enough to go to the North American Bitcoin conference due to Parker being super connected. I went with one of the other people. I don't want to say employees, but like one of the other contributors. Ian Pearson. I went with him. He has
shout out Ian.
Yeah,
Captain Pete.
Shout out Captain Pete.
Also killing it. I mean, him and his team. So the Discord,
killing it.
I got to throw some credit because Deniz did make our Discord a lot better, but that's not where the story ends. We had a lot of other people now who've iterated on it to make it what it is.
Who've taken upon you.
I will give him his props.
You walked
Dude,
so
I don't
they
know
could
if you
run.
logged in recently, but our new Discord is gas.
I have. I'm very proud. Let's just say that. Like I'm and to tie back in real quick, like hopping in his Discord occasionally and looking at the different channels. Like I know nothing. I have like a super fundamental understanding of coding, but I'm in no way a dev. And just going into the DecentDAO Discord and just like going into that dev channel and just like reading what they're talking about, I could kind of like picture together what they're working on and piece it together and be like, oh, okay, they're trying to build an API that does this, or they're trying to integrate this with that. Like, okay. And, you know, I went to the North American Bitcoin conference with Ian, and Ian's been in the game much longer than I have. I'm in no way an expert. I just am like, I'm a degen. Like, I just love researching it day and night. But I went with him, and we would sit, and for some of these talks, they would be getting super technical, and I would be like kind of lost, but I would sit there and remember that I have the ultimate like access to information at my fingertips. So I would whip out my phone, and he was just like, if he said a super complex talking about a super complex topic, and I didn't know a certain phrase or vocabulary word that he's using, I could just search it up right then and there and be like, okay, like now I understand the background of what he's talking about. Now let me continue to listen, you know. And like same thing goes with in person, right? If I'm sitting here explaining something to you and I'm talking about NFTs and the utility behind them and how they get integrated with the blockchain, and you're like, wait, hold up, how integrated with the block, and you just start searching it up while I'm talking, you'll be like, oh, okay, now I get it. Back to the conversation,
or at least have a broader understanding of what's going on.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
that's my biggest advice on the education front is like, you know, as a programmer, for example, most programmers spend half the day Googling and trying to learn something new to do the thing that they're trying to accomplish. And maybe not half the day, but a substantial amount of time. I can tell you when Stack Overflow goes down, no code gets written. So, which is like the question and answers website for programmers. It's like where we Google all the fucking answers. Anyway, so someone gave me advice early on in my career to get like really good at learning by myself. And luckily I've always kind of been that way, but you know, consciously focusing on how can I become really good at like doing my own research, Googling stuff, and becoming an expert. And I apply that same thing to like things in my personal life too. Like when I need this project for the van that I've been working on, I'm like in bed every night reading about woodworking for 2 hours.
Figure it out.
Yeah, and it's a really good skill set to have. And in this space, it's like, you know, the knowledge that you have, the asymmetric information that you have is really what gives people an advantage. So
absolutely, dude. You are your best tool, 100%. I mean, and these resources are free, so if you're trying to get in the game, you got no excuses. Get on it.
Yeah.
This man is building a whole van.
I've been watching.
YouTube, bro.
I've been watching.
Off of YouTube.
I've been
it
watching.
Blows my mind.
It's coming out.
I needed to get back to the build mode. I hadn't felt this flow state of like building something with my hands or with, you know, directly in years. You know, Decent is the thing that I build every day, but it's a very slow process. And so it's just been awesome to like just build something and not like look at a screen. And yeah, it's been great.
Good shit, bro. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
Good.
Appreciate
Great
you
job.
guys.
Thanks.
This is
Pleasure,
awkward. Why are we
pleasure.
shaking hands?
Dude, we gotta finish it. Yo, you killed it, bro. You're not.
Wait, we're not done. Hold on.
Quick,
I thought you just said we're done.
Yeah, but I'm gonna get you to plug your shit.
Come on,
Oh,
dog.
shit.
Just edit this out.
What kind of host is this guy, bro?
Sorry, bro.
No, I'm playing.
We should keep all this.
Real quick, I wanted to just talk about the company I work for a little bit, just because.
The what? Oh, STO.
Yeah. STG.
STG.
STO is an abbreviation for security token offering, right?
Okay.
The reason I want to talk about it is just because it's such a different side of crypto, right? Like, I love DeFi, don't get me wrong, but like this is the opposite spectrum of like, DeFi. So the security token space is the idea of like involving blockchain into regulated like asset classes, right? So like I can take a property, right, and buy it with an LLC, tokenize that LLC, and then I can sell those tokens to the public, right? And then you can come along, Josue, and buy, let's say, 50 tokens, and that 50 tokens represents 5% ownership in that LLC, right? Technically, that LLC owns that property. Technically, you own 5% of that property, right?
Okay.
And as the person providing that LLC and tokenization and all that, I can choose to either just let you have the equity that is behind that token, or I could choose like, okay, I want to provide more incentives. So I'm going to provide dividends based off of the cash flow of that property, right? So let's say I'm making $1,000 a month on that property. I'll distribute that $1,000 a month to all token holders equally in stablecoin, like USDC or whatever.
Okay.
So it's the idea that you can legally own something and it's legally binding, right? So not to talk down on like DAOs or NFTs,
But that's a pretty cool business model.
Right, and not to talk down on DAOs or NFTs, but me and Parker have seen a lot of DAOs and NFTs that promise you ownership of something, right? Fractionalized ownership of like, what was that DAO that owned 20 Bored Apes, and it was promising that you could own a piece of that group of Bored Apes or whatever, and one day that guy just up and disappeared, and like technically you cannot chase him in court. You don't own anything technically, right? But with a security token, it's all SEC compliant. It's regulated. You, legally speaking, own that asset, and I can go and chase that person in court for that, right? So I think it has a huge future, probably a soon-to-be multi-trillion-dollar industry, just because think of all the things that you can tokenize in the form of a security token, art, maybe vintage cars, properties, whatever it is. Companies are doing Reg CFs, which is a regulated crowd fund, tokenized. So that's one of the main services we provide, is the consulting, media, and data behind that whole industry, right? So let's say you own Josue LLC, right? And you want to raise $5 million so that you can take your company to the next level, right? But you don't want to go through the process of chasing down VCs and trying to show them as to why they should give you their money. And instead, you're like, okay, you know what? I have a huge community, a huge following. Let me utilize that. So instead, you go through the process of being approved for a regulated crowd fund, and you go ahead and, tokenize a piece of your company, right? So let's say like 20% of your company, you tokenize it, and that's what you're providing in exchange for that $5 million. So your community members can come in and own a piece of the company that they participate in so much, right? So we're actually, this is a little bit of a sneak peek. No one really knows, but we're actually gonna be having
I'll get fired now.
Regulated crowd fund soon. I can't say the date or how much we're raising, but it's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think it's soon to be like a game-changing industry for sure.
Good shit, dude. I'm so excited for all these new business models. Like, it's the future's looking bright, real bright. Guys, thanks again for joining me. Appreciate it. Deniz, tell people where they can find you, or STO if they're interested.
Yeah, so on I don't really use social media too much. I'm going to start getting on it.
If we got a little thing out there, it's like, damn, look at that boy with the glasses. Where do I find him?
You could find me on Instagram. It's at Deniz, DENIZ Deniz underscore K52. So it's DENIZ underscore K52.
Parker, you want to plug in DecentDAO?
Yeah, sure.
Toby?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to get in touch with DecentDAO is on our Discord. You can go to DecentDAO.org, like decent-dao.org. We're working on the domains. But yeah, there's a link to our Discord, every single social channel that we have on the DecentDAO.org website. And yeah, I guess the other thing that I think is really cool, if you're interested, we just launched our first product out of our studio. It's called Fractal, and it's a DAO governance framework, which very circular, but it's also going to power DecentDAO. Like DecentDAO is going to be running on the DAO framework that it created as one of its projects. But yeah, so that's super cool. And what we're trying to do is make it so that the technical tools are available, so that stuff like the Bored Ape Swindler that he just mentioned can't really happen. Because what's happening now is the on-chain tools aren't working for people's needs, and so they are let's just let's do this kind of decentralized, and we'll be fine. And then what happens is people aren't fine, and these bad things happen. So we definitely want to get to the point where the on-chain governance that's fully decentralized is actually easy to use and available to people.
Good shit, dude. Thank you guys for listening. As always, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, all the things. Appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate you guys here.
Appreciate you for
And as always, have yourselves a good day. Y no se metan con nadie para que nadie se las meta. See you guys next time. Remember last time you said it in Spanish?
Oh, yeah. I said it good, though.
Yeah, you did.